Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Yearbook News. I'm here with Sarah, of course, and we're continuing our series on discussing about the importance of yearbook in places that may not be usual. So today we're going to be talking about police departments and the role of the yearbook in a police department. I think it's something maybe when you think yearbook, you may not necessarily think police department, but there are actually so many benefits. And we've had the honor of getting to tell you guys a little bit more about it, of working alongside a wonderful police department and creating, memories that last a lifetime. Sarah, would you start us out today by kind of talking a little bit about the impact that a yearbook could have on a police department?
As far as the impact, and I think the police department, there are a lot of police department in different cities across the entire, country, right? And we're located in California, and we're very close to some of the police department, like for example, Los Angeles Police Department, Alhambra. The first experience that we had was a few years ago. Alhambra Police Department, they celebrate their anniversary. And we got a phone call. They interviewed us. We went to show them some samples. And at the end of the meeting, they decided to go with United Yearbook. So there was like a few steps we have to get clearance off. And finally, we're able to have the honor, to do the anniversary yearbook for the Alhambra Police Department. So that was the first experience that we have with working with the police department. Is a publication where they celebrate some of the milestones that the particular department have gone through over the years. It also showcased portrait panel pages like high school yearbook, but the current year or the current officers' portrait. Some of the police officers, they actually opted out. They don't want to be features on the portraits, similar to high school yearbook. Then we'll have their names, but just like not pictures, icon, in the yearbook. So I think, and also a message from the current police chief, the message to the department, the message to the community. So it is a piece to bring the entire department together. And also there are pages that talk about some officers that they passed away during the line of duty, and also messages from those officers who have since been retired. So I think it just like it is a publication that not only show the history of the department, but also to bring the department and also the community together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it really highlights how the yearbook is something that is community oriented, and it does bring people together. And it's something that just highlights and captures all those stories, And so I love when you're talking about like being able to commemorate, different stories of those that have retired or have even passed. I know that I'm sure for those families that have, dealt with the loss, that is something that is so meaningful and something that, they probably can't even put into words to be able to have that, and kind of have people look at that and respect it, respect them for what they've done and what they've sacrificed. So yeah, I can't even put into words what a beautiful thing that is. And just another way that yearbook really does capture those memories and that legacy, right? Because it is very legacy oriented, especially for a police department, right? I think that's absolutely beautiful, and I appreciate you pointing that out. So you mentioned a little bit about a police department that we've worked with before. Would you be able to tell me about maybe another one or any experience that we've had working with the police department that kind of stood out to you, and kind of the impact that had on that specific police department, but also on us? Because, when we work with a police department, a school, a congregation, whoever we're working with, we're also impacted during that process. And we also invest like our time and our efforts into really bringing that to life, and we care, so I feel like it's something that's so unique, is because we truly do care about every story that we're helping bring to life.
Yeah, I think this is something that's kind of interesting about doing yearbook for the police department is, um, they will document and showcase event that happen in the context, of that department. And often is about crimes, right? Like the crimes that they're able, different crime situation they are able to solve, and also how they uh, protect it and protect the citizen in a city. So the content is a little different. It's also very interesting because we get to expose to news content that we don't normally see in a yearbook publication for high school or for church. So I find it's very fascinating. On in a yearbook we're able to see some of the biggest crime. We almost forgot. It's this particular police department that the officer they risk their life, to protect the citizen by cracking down the the criminals from who committed crime be able to bring justice, on behalf of the public and also for the victim's family. So it's very very interesting, and also police department within the region. I would say for some of the police department in Los Angeles, the police chief, the captain, officer, they kind of like it's a very close knitted community, for officer. So I come from a law enforcement, family background. I'm, growing up with a father who was a police officer. I grew up with a lot of other friends that their parents were in the law enforcement. Likewise, and I found that the police department community in this city in America is very close knitted. So a few months after we worked with Alhambra Police Department, and one day we got a call from the LAPD department, and they said uh, they were referred to United Yearbook by another police department. We wonder who. It was like the Alhambra. So, and it turned out that at the same time, another company refer them to us, talk about, United Yearbook, do this, do really good work. You need to call them. So finally, the person who was responsible for the PR for the outreach. One day, I just got a call, and they asked us, to go to meet them. It was like kind of like an interview. So I brought samples, I answered question. I was a little bit nervous because when I went into the meeting, it was an interview. I didn't realize there were like about 20 some police officers. They were there interviewing me. But as I said, coming from a law enforcement family background, I just feel like I just connected, with the officers, with the people from the chief of staff office. I just felt instantly, they treated me like a family. I just felt very comfortable, being able to showcase the yearbook sample that we've done over the years. And they were fascinated by the knowledge they were able to receive from me during that 1 hour meeting. So it was a lot of fun. But it's also very interesting to see one department refer to another department to us. It's kind of like people, good word travel fast. So that's also a good reminder, for myself, we better, continue to build this good reputation by serving our customer well and continue to produce good product, for our clients.
Yeah. Wow, that really shows how seriously they took the project of the yearbook for having those 20 officers interviewing you. That shows just like how important that project was to them, that they wanted to like go through an interview process and make sure that you were going to be the right fit, even though they had, someone else telling them about our great work and everything. Yeah, that's amazing, because you could tell just how much they care just in that one interview. I'm sure you have a lot of stories about, your time spent working with them and creating this. But it was the 150th anniversary yearbook. Is that correct?
For the Los Angeles Police Department, 150 years. Yes, that was like
Awesome.
2019 December
Okay.
when the yearbook was finally launched.
That's amazing. And like, do you have anything that you have like that just stood out to you about working with them? Anything that kind of felt like it was a little different than because we're typically working alongside schools and you already mentioned like, you're telling different stories, telling stories about people's service and just different crimes and even I know there's canine unit pages that we got to display, which is always really fun and a great way to honor a unique part of the police department. But is there anything else that you could tell us about that experience?
Yeah, it is. I was very impressed about how committed and dedicated each officer who volunteered to do a yearbook. One time, I remember that we provided our online design software for the officer to use to design the pages that they were assigned to complete. At one point, I found that there were like 40 people were logging into our program at the same time. At the same time, so
Wow.
we're talking about they use their off duty time from home, um, or from wherever they were to put together the pages, um, by volunteer, their time to complete. I just was fascinated by the commitment, the dedication, the time they even took, to come to attend some of the workshop we provided, like design workshop, online program workshop, and also teaching them how to create a style guide. So it was just a lot of hours that these officers have to put in to complete the pages. Another thing I found out, the team of women police officers who were part of the chief of staff, they were just so dedicated and committed to each other. Um, I find myself were working late hours when they were working on the pages, answering email, asking me question, till the times are till 11 p.m. or midnight, sometime on the weekend, Sunday, Saturday. And I even have officer, our office was is in Rancho Cucamonga. They travel from, Los Angeles, just to come to meet with us and ask questions and ask us, for technical support on the software so that they can complete the pages that they were assigned to complete. So I think the
Wow. Yeah.
dedication part was just amazing.
Wow. Yeah, you can clearly see that dedication and just how much this was a part of their legacy and how seriously they took it. I know you have some goodies that they presented you and gifted you. Would you be able to share that with the podcast today?
The Los Angeles Police Museum. Uh,
Wow,
so this,
that is
yeah, this is a
amazing.
coin. This is a very special for me because the Los Angeles Police Museum, they play a big part and was crucial in providing content of the LAPD yearbook, because they have a library on site that houses all the yearbooks that the department has produced over the years. So they're instrumental, to provide, some historical data, stories, the whole that happened over the past 150 years. And there's also one writer who has been with the Los Angeles Police Museum who write numerous books about the department. And he's also instrumental, in providing the story, the content, and fact check, the event that occurred over the years.
There's so much history to this department. So being able to kind of be part of one chapter of their history must have been like
Exactly.
such an honor. Yeah. Yeah. And being able to bring that to life too, because this was like a legacy project, celebrating 150 years is a very big deal.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else that you could show us today?
Yes, on the December 5th, they actually have a big event. The media also cover, the event. It was on December 5th, 2019. They said this is a coin they made. I was told they only make 35 of this coin to thank
Wow.
everyone who was involved um, in producing the yearbook. And I'm just so honored. United Yearbook, on
Mhm.
behalf of United Yearbook, we accept this gift. And on the day of that closing ceremony, it was December 5th, they placed us at the VIP seating. So me and my
Mhm.
family actually got to attend the event. And then we also received this gift.
Wow, that's beautiful. What an honor. That's so
Yeah,
special to be able
yes.
to
And
get
then
that.
on the back, it showed the year when the department first started, which is
Oh, wow.
1869.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. That's
Yeah, I
incredible.
have this very special coin, in my special cabinet that kind of reminds me,
Mhm.
this project that United Yearbook were involved in back, in 2019. Actually, it lasted for about a year. That's the amount of time it took us to uh, to finish the project.
Mhm, mhm. Can you tell me, like, a little bit of, like, the reaction of a few of the police officers when they saw the yearbook for the first time? What was kind of the general emotion? I'm sure after that, like, year-long process, there was probably, like, a lot going through their minds and a lot of joy, I would assume, and kinda seeing what they have been working on for so long, like, come to be in front of them.
Well, I would say police department are no except a police officer are no exception. Like high school student, when it comes to yearbook, guess what? The first thing they look for was themselves in the yearbook. So I just found it so funny that on the day on the December 5th event, the officer were carrying the yearbook and they were going around to have the fellow officer to sign the yearbook. So I found that it was so just a very special moment to observe that, and also the excitement when they receive the yearbook
I
and
love
having
that. I
the fellow
wonder.
officers and also
Yeah.
the police supervisors or friends, a friend of the area PD department to sign the yearbook.
I love that. I wonder if it brought them back to their high school, middle school days when they found that and they felt like a little kid again receiving their school yearbook. That's so fun. I love that so much. Okay, so if there are any police officers out there who are listening to this and they're thinking like, "Oh my goodness, I would like to create a yearbook for my department," what does the process look like for them? What are the steps that they need to take? And obviously we have so much fun being able to bring, police departments yearbook to life, but what does it look like for them on their end?
I would say the first step is to interview yearbook publishing companies, or even if they already have a department or graphic department or department that have already been producing publication for the department, and they can just look for a printing company to get some pricing, so that they can have an idea how much they should sell the yearbook so that they can at least cover the printing cost. So I would say the first step, and then, of course, the police chief or the leadership, from the department has to decide that, okay, which officers or even the captain, who can make the decision to recruit officer, to volunteer to do the work, because they are going to have to, help put together the pages and create the content, during the time when they're not working, because their primary job, is to protect the citizen, right? Doing yearbook or yearbook advising or designing yearbook is just part of the duty outside of their regular duty. Um, so once they are able to set up a yearbook committee, usually, like based on my experience working with officers, they're committed. Once they agree to do the job, they're committed. Unlike high school students, which may not have that mindset, of meeting deadline, getting the job done. If one person doesn't do the job, the other person may have to end up doing the job. So unlike, high school student, police officer are very committed, they get things done. So, and then the next step will be to create an outline, what they want to cover, a list of content, and have the chief, or have the leadership, from the department to review, see if there anything that need to be added or removed, and then from there they kind of get an estimate, of the page count, and then they decide how many quantity based on the number of officers, who may be interested, or to get a survey to see how many officers who will be interested in paying for the yearbook. And also other police department, who may be interested in purchasing the yearbook, maybe have a link, for the wait list, get a survey to see how many copy that people who are not part of the department may want to purchase the yearbook. Now, when we did the LAPD, we found that other police department from other country also purchased the yearbook. So it is a yearbook publication that other police department from overseas who are also interested, because they want to get to know the department. They want to find out how our country, run our police department, how the law enforcement works. So, so once they have the quantity all figured out, and they can go back to the yearbook publisher or printing company to get the printing cost. And from there, they probably have to mark up maybe 25%, 30%, so that they can make some profit and use the proceeds for some of the benefit or event they want to provide, for the officers of that particular department. And that's, they find out, determine the selling price of the yearbook. So the step is very simple, similar to a church directory or even a high school yearbook publication, except there's not a big yearbook team to put together the yearbook. And the yearbook staff in the content of police department, they are just volunteer who are also police officers who use their off-duty time to produce the publications. So the process is very simple. To summarize, find a provider. It could be a yearbook publisher or printer, and then create an outline, take a survey to see how many officers are going to purchase the yearbook, and also get a list of potential purchaser who may also be interested in purchase the yearbook, and get the final quantity and get a quote, from the yearbook publisher and a printer. And from there, you find out the cost, mark up 25 to 30%, and that will be your selling price of the yearbook. So I would say once you narrow down to a yearbook company, a lot of yearbook company, they will provide software guideline, and also based on the experience in working with police department, they can even suggest content, and they can even connect the captain of the police department to the captain of the other police department who have done yearbook for the department. So, from there we build a community, because we help them to network. One department can help the other department in giving them some pointer and guideline on producing a yearbook publication for the police department.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think another benefit of that too is having like the inspiration as well, and seeing like another department's yearbook and saying, okay, these are the kinds of things that they included. This is what I would like to include in mine. Or, I noticed that they were missing this. Maybe I would like to include this here, And so sometimes it can be really difficult, especially, if this is something that's fairly new to the department, and kind of figuring out what they want to include, what shouldn't be included, the kinds of things that they want to commemorate, because it really truly is about commemorating the legacy that they're leaving behind. And so I think that that's a really good point, and creating those connections. And like you said, all across the world, there was people that were so interested in the LAPD's yearbook, and that just goes to show that there's connection everywhere, and there's also that legacy that people are wanting to preserve and are invested in. But it kind of makes me think about is this with the school yearbook, it's that year to year legacy, right? Because it changes every single year. There's students that graduate, and I think that there is like a yearly change to the police department. There's different stories that can be told. There's different maybe new officers that want to be part of it, or officers that are retiring that year that also want to be remembered for their work and their service. So would you suggest, I know that typically we see it more as something that's kind of like an anniversary celebration, as we saw with the LAPD's yearbook, it was 150 years, but would you suggest for our departments to kind of start doing it as like a yearly thing, rather than just celebrating every 10 years or even longer than that?
I would say realistically, it'll be very difficult to have a yearly publication for the police department. First of all, with the recent cuts at the police department, it may not be feasible financially. Second is takes a long time, a lot of hours for the volunteer officers to use their off-duty time to to collect content and also to do some research and to put together the pages together. I would say probably realistically, maybe after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, that will be a good number of years, to have enough stories, groundbreaking stories, to tell, to write, to have enough number of officers who are retired who want to be showcased and features in the publications. So I think those number will be a realistic figure. When we finished the 150-year LAPD yearbook, I was told, Sarah, see you in 25 years. The only thing about in 25 years, they are going to have another big publication. For the LAPD, the book is about 468 pages. So in 25 years, while in 20 years, they're going to have another big publication. I think by that time, the story is going to be quite different.
That's a large yearbook. Oh my goodness. And that's such a good point that you brought up, that they don't have the same time frame, they don't have the same abilities that like a school has, for example. They have an entire club dedicated to that. They don't have jobs beyond that, right? Like, this is a police department. A priority may not be the yearbook for every year, but being able to fill those pages every few years, like you mentioned, is something so special. Yeah, I think that that's just like, it goes to show once again of just like how special it is to be a part of that. Would you say, I also actually think that, like, for you, when you were mentioning the retired officers, I was also thinking about how special it must be to, after years, maybe it's been like 5 years since they've retired, and then for them to be featured in the yearbook and like honored after that time has passed. I'm sure that, connecting with like old friends in the department, and being reached out to probably as well, probably feels really special, and like they're still part of that legacy, like they were not forgotten. So I think that's really special. Do you think that, let's say, for example, for the 25 years that goes by, it's just such a large span of time. Can you tell me a little bit about like how they're able to fit the stories? I know you said that's nearly 500 pages, so they do have quite the space for it. But like, for retired officers and for stories of those that have passed and everything, how are they really able to fit in that rich history within those past 25 years?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, when we did the LAPD 150th anniversary yearbook, at that time, I believe there's about 8,000 portraits that we have to autoflow to the panel pages. So
Wow.
we put 40 portrait per page. That how many
Wow.
pages? There's over 100 pages, of portrait.
Wow.
So the portrait themselves, already took up about 1/5 of the book. And then we have the portrait pages for the canine. So that is also, that's, I found it is so cute. So I think portrait play a big part, and also, there are dedicated pages for the officer who passed away, who lost their life, during the line of duty. There are also a space, a place, for them in the yearbook, to uh, talk about the story and how, what they did, and, to honor them, through the publication. So, and also, a milestone at the beginning of the yearbook usually is a timeline, from start to finish. I would say if we're going to do the 175 anniversary yearbook for the LAPD, it's going to start with 1869 to, um, to the 150 75 years. So the timeline will be additional 25 years of what we did, a few years ago. So there's a lot of content. That's why it's not just like the officers who are responsible to put together the layout, but the yearbook team, the yearbook committee who has been commissioned, to lead the yearbook publication, they will also be responsible to do the research. Fortunately, LAPD has a LA Police Museum to support them by helping them to do the research so that they can transfer the content from the research to the actual publication. It's a lot of work. It takes effort. It takes commitment and dedication. So if anyone from the public who's interested in knowing the content of the publication, they can place an order with the Los Angeles Police Museum, so they can get a copy, and they will be amazed by the wealth of information and history, that is encapsulated, within this very unique 150-year anniversary publication for the LAPD. So the Los Angeles Police Museum, they are the one who is responsible to fulfill the order, and the public or other department or individual can still purchase the publication, from them, so that you can see, the amount of content that is recorded in this very special, unique publication.
Wow. And I bet too that even with the nearly 500 pages, that there still could have been even more pages just filled with even more stories, but there's just such a wealth of information, you know. And I
Mhm.
always think about this is such a wonderful example of how historians one day will look at this book and be grateful that it was created, because they'll be able to understand, you know, what this celebration, what their legacy was at that point in time, you know, 2019 and beyond, you know. So I think that that's just so unique. What a unique thing to be able to bring to life, you know. Yeah, and I loved what you were saying about how there, you know, the canine pages, and also just how much just the portraits took up of the yearbook. And it just goes to show that people want to be included, and to have that community and to be showcased in that way. I think that's so wonderful. Do you have any final piece of advice that you would say to anyone out there listening who would be interested in creating a yearbook for their department?
I would say planning is very important, and also that it has to come from the top, who see the need and also the meaning of having a anniversary yearbook for the police department. And then the next step, is to assign a committee, who will be responsible for the yearbook. You will be surprised that some officers during the high school year, they're actually yearbook staff, and in which we found, when we work with um, the Alhambra Police Department, one of the officers who actually have some experience in doing yearbook because of her high school experience. So it's pretty easy to process. So if any department is interested, and come and talk to us, and we'll be more than happy to walk you through the process. And we will also be happy to connect you with other departments, so that they can also give you some pointer and guideline, just share the experience in doing a yearbook, completing a publication, regardless of the size. We can do publication from 64 pages to a very big publication, yearbook publication, as much as 500 pages. Nothing is too difficult or impossible. I think it's take a spirit of determination, and also that wanting to turn the idea into a reality. So it's possible, and it's a lot of fun, And I think the effect, going back to your first question, the impact of having a yearbook publication for the police department is really to bring the community together, and also to increase the morale, and also to bridge the gap between the department and also the public.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. And for anyone who's listening and you're just curious and want to see the yearbook, we do that have that on our website, unitedyearbook.net. It is just such a unique and special yearbook, even just to look at, even if you're not part of a police department, it is something that is just so unique, and it's so special. You can even you can see it in just the way that it's designed. You can see the care in every page. I would say I remember, holding it for the first time. It's a hefty book. It's very hefty, and I felt like there was so much care put into it. I could see it from page to page, from cover to cover, and there's just a lot to it. So anyone interested in checking that out, it's on our website, like I said. But yeah, any final thoughts, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, just doing yearbook for the police department, it's just like, uh, I just have a lot of fond memories. As I said, I come from a law enforcement family background. It just feel that connection, and I just feel a sense of great honor. To be able to help the police department to problem solve the question that they may have, and trying to figure out to put together a printed publication for them.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about your experience. It has been so wonderful to hear just about that history, that part of history that United Yearbook has gotten to be part of and bring to life. I'm sure you could go on and tell even more stories, but it has been wonderful hearing what you've told us today. If anyone has any questions, any comments, anything else you'd like to hear from Sarah, you can go ahead and leave it down below. And you can also check out our website, like I said, unitedyearbook.net, and we would love to help you out, with your publication, whether it be for a department or something else. We are happy to walk alongside you and bring your yearbook dreams to life. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you again, Sarah. I've been listening and I've been so interested. I'm sure everyone out there has been just drawn and just drawn to all the stories that you've been telling today. So thank you again.